Tell me about your food spread. Talk to me.
So
Give me some deets.
we had tortilla chips with nacho cheese, bean dip, salsa.
That was your entire spread. No chicken wings, no pizza.
Classic. It's
That
good.
is that
It's
that
awesome.
is that is classic G-Man too,
What?
guys. If you don't know G-Man, I want you to think of him as the chip master and the Dallas Cowboys fan.
The chip master.
A chip master? Okay.
Chip master,
Look.
chip master, and a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well.
Next up, Thick, while he's processing what I just said, tell me all about your spread. What was your favorite? Tell me about the hot sauce that you made.
hmm Yeah, I'm definitely not a chip. I'm like a chip junior class somewhere in there. We only had one queso spread for our tortilla chips, as the chip master pronounced it. Um, and yeah, the winning team on my spread was definitely the wings. So tip: I don't like to fry my wings. I like to bake them. Put them put them in the fridge overnight with some baking soda and salt. It dries them out, and when you bake them, they're super crunchy. So that's what
Hmm.
we did. And then for my sauce, we took this honey buffalo mixture I concocted, and then I added some ghost pepper sauce to it. So it's nice heat in there. It was perfect.
I want to watch the Super Bowl. I don't want to watch from the bathroom. So, you know.
It was all good. You have to plan it right. You have to know your time frames. It's a very analytical game when you get into the ghost pepper side of things. So
But you don't want to miss the best part, the commercials. So,
And we know Sick is all about the numbers and all about the heat. Well, I want to talk about my spread. So we had a array of stuff. We had some people that brought a little bit of shrimp. A little good, good. Yeah, I personally stayed away, but that's okay. It's a little selfish of me, I know. So I brought buffalo chicken dip. I was very pleased with it. Turned out very, very good. My dad, he fried. We have a deep fryer there, and he fried up some chicken legs, and they turned out very good. I did have one mishap when I went to add my sauce. Um, I didn't realize that it didn't have the squirty top on it. So when I poured, my plate was flowing in sauce. It was the perfect
mm,
amount of sauce.
oh
mm.
jeez.
You know when you order to the restaurant and you say, "Can I have my wings wet?" That
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they were swimming.
There's something to
you
be said
don't
for
get
that.
you don't get those mishaps when you have tortilla chips and salsa. So,
I didn't say it was a big mishap. It was a tasty mishap.
Mm.
And one of my aunts brought some fake sausage, and it was an array of stuff. It was very good. There's a guac dip that I stay away from because I don't like avocado, but well, I want to get that. That was important to me. I mean, when you guys think Super Bowl, there should be two things that come to mind, and that is food and commercials. So the next thing is, Sick. What was your favorite commercial?
Ooh, I don't know if I really had one this year. I like those, and there's only one that stuck out to me. But I like the ones that are kind of like recurring, where you see like, the beginning of the commercial in the first quarter, and then you see an iteration of it in the second quarter. It just keeps kind of going. The only one, and to be fair, I didn't pay a ton of attention to the commercials this year. I was just kind of watching them. But there was one with the singing cat, and man, what was the song that all we do is win, 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 and the cat keeps singing it with the lady. That's the only one I felt was recurring this year, but um, I don't know. I would none of them stuck out to me as anything spectacular this year.
My favorite commercial was the guy who sticks his hand in the Pringles can
Yeah,
and
I
gets
remember
his
that one.
hand stuck. Yeah, I wanted to jump in front of G-Man there because you kept saying the word stuck out. That one really stuck out to me.
is that
But
really your favorite?
it was actually, to be honest with you, it made me laugh the most. G-Man, your favorite commercial?
I have two. I really liked the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was Zeus.
Mm,
You see that one? I like that one. When he was golfing and he had the little Pegasus dog
yeah.
and he was in like that car and I guess he like zapped the light. Yeah. I like that one. And then I like the Flaming Hot Doritos one where the sloth comes down and like steals the Doritos and all the creatures in the forest are all singing,
Mm.
beatboxing.
I
I like
think I
that one.
missed that commercial. There was one moment where after eating a ton of food, I realized that I left my water in my car. And so I had to run from my grandma's house down her driveway, which is a very long driveway, got to my car and sprinted back. I was also out of breath. I was very ashamed, but it just shows that I could go play in the NFL. I mean, no question about it. I'm in tip top shape. I'm ready to go.
Yep.
Well,
Just
Dolphins.
say
if
don't.
you're truly, oh, sorry, go ahead, go ahead, you.
I was just say don't run onto the field after a touchdown, or you might lose that water boy job.
There
I'm
you
not.
go.
I'm not Vernon Hargreaves. Yeah, I figured, with my if the Eagles need a receiver, call me up.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
I
you can run, you just can't catch. Perfect for
I
our team.
I've
Perfect.
got yeah. I'll give
Sign
the
you
ball to
right
the
up.
other team. Absolutely.
Uh,
Well, there was a game that happened, and I think we have to start talking about it. I know we gave our halftime scores. We had 10-7, 10-10, 17-10. None of us hit it right. But, G-Man, I want to talk specifically the first half here. Specifically the first half. Talk to me. Tell me what you saw. What did you see from the Bengals, the Rams? Anything stand out to you?
Dude, I feel like the sacks in that game were insane. Like the pressure that the Rams were putting on the Bengals was out of this world. But the other thing too is that which I did not expect is the Rams couldn't run the ball. Felt like Stafford's passing game was on point, but every time they tried to run it, just stuffed. So I don't know. All in all, it was pretty good. Odell Beckham, that sucked. I feel like he would have been a pretty good asset to have around, but apparently he tore his ACL. That was a bummer. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Odell Beckham comes out of the gate hot as can be, makes a cool, incredible catch in the end zone. It certainly had arrows pointing up to him and everything else. Sick. Talking again. I want to keep it to the first half right now. What did you see from the initial game plan? I know last week you were talking about how you kind of expected both teams to start off slow, kind of feel each other out. Anything surprise you? What did you see? What was your takeaways? Go.
yeah, I felt like they definitely that first drive were starting off a bit slow. I'd say the first drive for both teams is kind of what I was talking about, and how they were kind of a little hesitant, maybe. And to G Man's point, no one could. The Bengals had a little bit of a run game going, but Rams, they couldn't do anything on the ground. So I think it was them trying to get a little bit of that going. Starting to realize it's probably not going to go anywhere tonight. But yeah, I feel like, and this is, I noticed it at half, like probably right before halftime, right around maybe 3 or 4 minutes left in the half. But throughout the whole game, it flew by. There were no flags. Like the clock was just ticking the entire time. And so that was kind of the one thing that stood out to me in the first half was, holy, like we're already at halftime, and I feel like normally it would have been maybe just starting the second quarter for a normal game. So that kind of, and maybe it's just part of the Super Bowl that you're kind of a little more hyped, you're a little more engaged, maybe time flying by a little bit more. But that's the kind of what stuck out to me. No fouls, kind of a clean, quote unquote, game through that first half. It flew by. No team was really. I think the Rams kind of stuck out a little bit when they started getting that first touchdown and taking a little more chances. That was kind of the first drive for me where we saw a little bit of actual football being played. But honestly, it was kind of boring football through the first half, in my opinion. Nothing real special that was going on.
Yeah, one of my coworkers actually said that they felt the game was a little bit that they watched, that they felt the game was boring. And it was. It was the defensive game. I will give credit. I said that if the Rams were to play it slow and conservative, that it was going to bite them in the rear. And they did. They kept playing conservative. I'm harsh, right? I'm a very much of a critic. If I see a mistake, I'm going to call it out. And I believe running the ball consistently on first down is a big mistake. The Bengals did that all game against the Chiefs. They were not doing that against the Rams, but the Rams kept doing it against the Bengals. And I was getting frustrated. The Rams were playing conservative, and yet they have the explosive players. And the Bengals, who typically play conservative with the young coach, young quarterback, had opened it up. And I was very glad to see that. And honestly, I mean, uh, the Rams score first. Odell Beckham, beautiful catch. Then the Rams score a second touchdown. And then the botched extra point. And I went, oh no. For two reasons. One, my 17-10 score didn't look so good anymore. But also, how often does that come back to bite you? Your thoughts when the botched snap where the holder just kind of let the ball go.
Mm.
Sick, when you first saw that, what went through your mind?
Yeah, I mean that was my first thought too. I think there's two parts in that. One, I can't remember if I think it was the first half, but now it's kind of blurry. But I know they caught the interception and then had the 15-yard penalty with the guy running on the field. That to me was kind of a momentum swing, just like you get the interception, you get the touchback, you're going the other way, and then you have to start like a 1st and 25. Um, so that to me kind of got was a momentum shift. And then I think too, like you're talking about with the missed extra point, first two things that went through my head was like one, I mean, I was kind of rooting for the Bengals, so I was like, okay, good, we're gonna, they missed it. If we, come back and score and go up 1 point, even, it's kind of like a momentum booster. But then two, it's like, yeah, that missed point, it's like I guarantee that's going to be the turning point for the game. Like we're either going to win by a point or lose by a point or something. That point always tends to come back and get you.
And G-Man, here you are. You predicted the odd score and that they missed the extra point, and all of a sudden, 25-22. It's in the realm. It's a possibility. What went through your mind at half? It's kind of leading into the half right before they missed the extra point. What was going through your mind, and how did you feel the game was going?
It was going in favor of the Rams, in my opinion. I was just like, after watching the first half, I was just like, how good is this Rams offense with Cooper Cup, Stafford connection? But at halftime, when I saw that score, I'm like, I could do it. I could do it. And I could predict the end score of the Super Bowl. That's only happened 12 times total. Yeah. I thought I could, but you know how that goes.
I was reading an interesting article, and I'm gonna kind of really plays more in the second half, but it was a breakdown of what happened right before. I don't know if you guys remember the play, but it was kind of a fun play. Joe Burrow scrambles out thanks to an Aaron Donald rush, and he's running along the sideline, and Aaron Donald gives him a nice two-handed shove, and Joe Burrow took some wings and flew. Really showed me, one, the strength of Aaron Donald, and two, that I would die out there. I mean, I knew that going into this, but like I would die. So he flies, and the number 66, their left guard, comes in and hits Aaron Donald, and I went, "No, what are you doing? You don't anger that guy." What I've realized by reading this article is that's actually not what happened. It was, but it wasn't. One of the things that the Rams did after that was they realized that they could fake a five-man rush, and it allowed Aaron Donald to get one-on-one matchups instead of the center turning and blocking wherever Aaron Donald was. And that was the first play that they actually ran that stunt, basically, lack of a better word for me here. And it started the opening, allowing Aaron Donald one-on-one. And as we saw, that was a bad matchup. for Joe Burrow. When you saw the shove and Aaron Donald shoving Joe Burrow and then the shove by the guard, were you scared for Joe Burrow's life, G-Man?
Oh yeah, you don't want to be on the receiving end of that for sure.
The next play, the guard got shoved back into Burrow, and I went, "That's why you don't mess with him." Any other thoughts, sick, in terms of the first half there?
No, coming out of it, I was positive for the Bengals. I felt like, aside from the crazy touchdown from Beckham and some of that, I was positive that the Bengals were figuring it out. And heading into the second half, the Bengals are a second half team. So I was like, if we can hold the Rams to this at halftime, it's looking pretty good heading into the second half. So at this point, those were kind of my thoughts and where I was hoping to see the game go.
So I did this intentionally, but we're gonna stop talking about the game because we are now at the halfway point. G-Man, I know you were looking forward to this halftime show as was a lot of people. I want you to go into a fairly detailed breakdown of what happened, your thoughts as soon as that stage was finally ready and it was on.
Dude, when Dr. Dre was twisting dials and he just pops up to the next episode and Snoop Dogg and him were just rapping and then California Love comes on. Oh man. Oh dude. So there was a rumor. I don't know if you knew this, that there was going to be a hologram of Tupac. Right.
I knew that there was a lot of talk about it, but
There
it
was
was
talk. There was talk. It was never confirmed, but that would have been weird. I don't know. Too weird to me, but I guess appropriate at that point. I don't know if it was like they tried to make it work. That's why they had a Tupac song on there, but I don't know. But anyway, then camera pans down, and who's upside down singing "In the Club"? None other than 50 Cent.
and you know what the best part about him was, right? He came on after 2 quarters.
He's a full dollar now, but you know, uh, funny thing about that is everybody was like, why is he upside down? This is so weird. But in the club, the music video for that song, he was upside down. So it went over everybody's head. Everyone was like, why is he upside down? So that's why he was upside down.
Did you see the video of how we got up there?
Didn't he
Like,
pull?
yeah,
He pulled
he just walked up and went boom boom and just I was like, nope, nope.
My buddy was telling me that he's going to be in the Expendables. That's why he's kind of built. So, anyway, halftime show. So you had Mary J. Blige. She did okay, and
I
then
thought she killed it.
you had Kendrick Lamar. Okay, Mary J. Blige, pretty good. Kendrick Lamar. I don't know if it's just not my cup of tea. I don't know because I thought it was just like the choreography was cool, but that song I was like, I could do without it. But then that box popped open, and you had "Don't Forget About Dre," and then "Lose Yourself," dude. So good, so good. That was the best halftime show I've seen to date. I don't know how you beat it.
It was absolutely incredible. Sick. Give me. We kind of he just explained the whole halftime
I'm
show.
sorry.
I'm
I'm sorry, man.
I asked you that intentionally, right? Because I don't want Sick to tell me about the halftime show. I want him to tell me what his thoughts on the halftime show were. Who was your favorite? Were you shocked to see 50 Cent? Did you like 50 Cent? All that. Just give it to me. Just give it to me.
Oh man. So I typically don't watch the halftime. I'm not a huge fan. I've never, I'm not a huge concert goer to begin with. But I did enjoy this one, and I watched the entire thing, which is probably the first time in a while. So, I mean, I agree. I think the one piece like Kendrick Lamar that G-Man pointed out, I did agree on that, but I did like the choreography. I thought that was pretty cool throughout the entire thing. I think each like different place you were going to, I thought they killed it and everything. The only thing that kind of stuck out to me was I don't know. I guess this is part of it and part of the nostalgia what they were trying to bring. But I felt like all the songs were kind of older ones. Like Eminem, you're really gonna play like the hits that like play some of the newer stuff, or I don't know, something a little different. Like we've heard that song 1,000 times. I don't know. I was expecting them to pull out something and make it big rather than using the big songs we already knew about, if that makes sense. That's the only thing that stuck out to me is, yeah, it was hype and I enjoyed it, but it was like, okay, you just played everyone's biggest song. That's all you did.
I absolutely am going to disagree with you. I love the fact that they did that. When you are at the halftime show, I feel like this isn't the time to throw out some older song or newer song that doesn't have the cred that got you to the stage. This is the Super Bowl halftime show. You have millions and millions of people watching you. I'm sorry, but nobody wants to hear 3 a.m. I love the song.
I'm not saying to like go into the deep cuts and find a song. I'm just saying don't pick the very biggest song. Like pick one that I don't know. Again, it's just my viewpoint.
I would have liked to have seen Rap God. I love the way he spits the lyrics out.
Mm-hmm.
It's also one of my favorites. But the one thing that I was felt that was lacking was I wanted a collaboration of Dre, Snoop Dogg, and Eminem.
Mm-hmm.
We know that they have songs that they do that on. They're not very clean. My guess is why it wasn't done, but it was absolutely incredible. I loved the way it was done. I wish, and I see somebody Harley in chat there talking about it. I wish that they would have done with away with some of the names. I could have done without 50 Cent. I could have done without Kendrick Lamar. Mary J. Blige, I thought killed it. I could have done without her. I understand, like the idea is it was Dre and not everyone, but people who he founded and
Mm-hmm.
he helped get to where they are. But to me, I would have just liked to have seen those three and them have more than just one song.
Yeah. Yeah, I did feel it was rushed going from like segment to segment. I definitely agree there. Focusing more on like it didn't feel like anything was completed. Everything was just kind of like, oh, here you go. Oh, pull it away, go over to this thing. Pull it away, go over to this thing. And yeah, I agree there.
The Go ahead, G-Man.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys remember a headline from 2 years ago, but Dre almost died from a brain aneurysm to headlining the Super Bowl halftime show.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's pretty important. And you have he created these guys. And so, like to have him, and the perfect closing was all of them basically being on stage together. That was great.
Because it really showed the power and the reach that Dr. Dre had. I mean, the rap music that we know today doesn't happen without him. He is not the founding father, but boy, he was very influential.
Mm-hmm.
And I did hear that that's kind of why Kendrick Lamar was there. Was that is the new style of rap that is still being touched by Dre. It wasn't my cup of tea though. I could have done without that. Any other thoughts, G-Man, Sick, when it comes to the halftime show?
Thought the live music was great, like the drums. They had the guitar solo in "Lose Yourself." That was pretty cool. But other than that, no, it was perfect. It was perfect, except for Kendrick Lamar. You could just edit that part out and be good, fine. But
yeah, I liked the only part I'll leave like final thoughts. I liked when Dre sat down at the piano and kind of had the little solo thing.
Right.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was actually a Tupac song that he was playing initially, and then it went in a yeah. That was cool. I like that.
And I also did like Eminem's coming into the one line that he is allowed to say from "Don't Forget About Dre," since everything else would have been bleeped out. I thought that was very well done.
Mm.
So we're gonna transition from halftime. We start the third quarter, and it was like the first play of the half, and it's a bomb over the top of the corner that I can never remember, Ramsey.
Yep. Yeah.
But there was something that was just I can't quite put my
Mm.
finger on
Don't
it.
know what you're talking about.
Um,
Clean play. Clean play.
but tell me, what was your thought, G-Man? I'm gonna kick this right to you here. At the start of the half, they hit the big play. May have been helped by an official missing the face mask, and then the immediate interception afterwards. Go.
I just I kind I fuck I can't talk about the refs without going into the fourth quarter. But I don't want to. I'll just talk about the face mask. How do you miss that? How is that you're letting you play is one thing, but blatantly not calling a face mask is another thing. Like you just don't get away with that kind of stuff in the NFL, or you shouldn't. Why is this acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that Ramsey fell, and I thought it looked very odd, and I couldn't wait to see the replay. And you see it, and it's like from the one angle they first showed, I was like, oh, that's clean. And then they showed the other angle, and it was clean, all right. It was a clean face mask and a rip. So you
Yeah.
get that play, it's not called. And then, like I said, the next play, Stafford hits number 18 fresh off the bench due to Odell Beckham's injury, and it pops right into the hands of a Bengal. What went through your mind, Sick? I know you had to have been a little happy knowing that you were rooting for the Bengals.
I was like, this is if you're gonna win the Super Bowl, this is the drive. Just scored a touchdown, which I agree. I don't know how you missed that with hand selected refs for the Super Bowl, but whatever, right? They weren't throwing any flags. Um, so you just scored a touchdown. Very first play, you intercept it, and we're at like what, the 45, 50 yard line.
Somewhere in there.
So we perfect position. You're at least getting a field goal, but with that momentum, you've got to get a touchdown there. So that was what I was saying. Is like you couldn't have asked for a better way to start the second half, and if you can get those points on the board now, it's going to be tough getting into the fourth quarter. You're going to have a lot of pressure. You're probably, if you're behind, you have that added pressure trying to do that. So if you can get these points now, going to the fourth quarter ahead, it's going to make it a lot easier. But unfortunately, they weren't able to go down for a second one, which I think, ultimately was one of the things that kind of cost them in the game.
I 100% agree with you. When they didn't score that touchdown, it was like, ooh, that's a missed opportunity.
Mm,
But we know that the Rams have a tendency to collapse in the second half. They did it against the 49ers in week 18. They almost did it against Tampa. They kind of did it against San Fran, but they were able to come back and win it at the end and then to go down. It didn't look good. And it certainly had that feeling of, oh no, here it comes. And Sean McVay was not helping things, handing the ball off, continuously continuing to hand the ball off to the running back up the middle for -2 yards.
mm-hmm.
Second and 12, second and 13, second and 11. It was not working, but he was adamant that he was going to keep doing it. So G Man, they end up they take the lead. The Bengals take the lead. They've got a nice little lead. It's 20-13 lead. The Rams get the ball. They drive down the field. They kick a field goal. They're now 20-16. And there was that kind of a gap where not a lot happened. It kind of went back and forth. What was going through your mind throughout that process and, through the defense?
Putting on
I,
my
I'm not there
referee
yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not talking about when they scored. I'm talking in between that. We're talking mid third quarter to the mid fourth quarter here. I'm building, man. I'm building. Trust the process.
I hate the
Trust the
process.
process.
I hate the process.
All right.
So
So sick. So in between.
okay, I here's the thing. I I don't remember much from that except for the ending. Like the ending was just like nerve wracking, you know? I just everything else just kinda so I just to be honest, I
It's
really
fair.
want to talk about that.
I know that it was a lot of defense. I mean, um, the Bengals were putting a lot of pressure. They were stopping the run with their front four. They really weren't having to send extra men. Uh, Stafford, while was it just seemed off. It seemed like he was really missing Odell. He kept Cooper Kupp was kind of held in check for a large portion of this game, and if just you kept waiting for who's the next guy going to step up, and Van Jefferson had a couple of chances, and he just didn't. He had the long bomb into the end zone that got intercepted that I felt Van Jefferson should have got attacked the ball a little bit harder and stuff. Sick. Your thoughts, kind of that again in between here. We're talking like 6 minutes left to the third to like 6 minutes left to the fourth.
Hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of it for me, and I mean, you look at the Rams' offense. You have you have no one on the Rams' offense is doing anything. You had OBJ in the first quarter,
Quarter and a
first
half.
two quarters. Um, Cup, I really was like non-existent up until maybe the halfway through the third quarter or so.
He did catch the touchdown in the first half, but
Hmm.
he only had like two or three targets at that point.
That's what I'm
So
saying. Like he was, of course, like he's always going to be there, right? You always have to be worried about him, but they couldn't get him the ball. They couldn't get him, down the field, and I think that's when, like this period is where you start seeing Cup pick up and start getting momentum. I remember there was a couple plays here where it was like a simple little screen pass, like a 1 yard screen pass, and he had a guy right next to him, and he just juked him and ran over the field for 20 yards like it was nothing. So these little plays are starting to get Cup involved. They're starting to get a little momentum. But even in this period, I was like, I don't know, man. The Bengals are shutting them down. The Bengals are not giving them options. They still can't run the ball. If you can't run the ball and you have no options on why, in the passing game, what are you going to do? How are you going to win this game? So that's kind of where I was at. Is this is still, if the Bengals can keep this pressure, they've intercepted a couple times. They're forcing them to pass instead of run, which is good for them in my opinion. And I don't know, we were setting it up for to be successful. The only problem is the Bengals also couldn't get anything going either. Could not hold the ball, could not run the clock out, could not score points, nothing.
the second half is where I think McVay, who was being very stubborn, really didn't make the big mistake. He kept making the little mistakes, right? Like again, we've talked about the rushing. Cam Akers had 13 carries for 21 yards. Henderson 4 carries, 7 yards. Sony Michelle 2 carries, 2 yards. It wasn't working. But this is where you kind of felt where the Bengals, their one advantage they had was this aggressive approach. But in the second half, they almost dialed it back, but also didn't do it properly.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a small lead, so it's not like you could just run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. But you didn't. They still dropped back and threw it a lot. Now Mixon ended up having 15 carries, but he had 15 carries on 72 yards. Like he was doing well. Now one adjustment I saw when Odell Beckham went out was they started to use Henderson on wheel routes, setting the back on a linebacker and getting him out into space. And Henderson kind of, had 5 targets, 3 catches for 43 yards, and really kind of had a couple key plays where I thought opened it up and allowed the Rams to gain some of that momentum, but more importantly, gain some space and some yards and kind of let that defense kind of settle in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, G-Man, the moment you've been waiting for. The final drive, the Rams get the ball with 6.5 or so minutes left, and they start the drive. And they're moving the ball down the field. And it's slow. They're not hitting the big play, but Cooper Kupp is feasting. They're moving it down. They get inside the 30-yard line. There's 2.5 minutes left or so. 2 minutes. What happens? Go ahead. Give me the play-by-play. Give me your breakdown.
Okay. Appropriately, I'm going to take off this hat and then, put on the winning team's hat real quick, because yet again, it was another, one of those Super Bowls. Because when you're not calling face masks, but somebody grabs you right here real quick and you're just flagging it, how do you get away with that? How do you get away with that? Like, the announcers were like, they're just letting them play. They're just letting them play. And then all of a sudden, that's when the flags started flying. About a minute 40 on the dot. Flag, flag, flag. Gets the Rams really close. It gives them three chances, 3 first downs. I don't know. Take it away, because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Every year for the past 2 years. How does that happen? How do you get away with that?
I think the biggest thing for me is if they, I mean, I can tell when the announcers, they have this like they don't want to speak ill of the referees, so they go like, oh, let's watch the replay and see if we can see what they call. They're like, oh, there's not much there. Yeah, what do you think about that? Neither of them wants to say that shouldn't have been called. And you can kind of see they're trying to very carefully pick how they're talking about what this was. And to me, I could see a tiny bit in that call. But you have been calling nothing all game. Like, literally, there's been 2 flags, I believe, up until that point. One was for a guy running on the field, and I think the other was a taunting call or something. So you've thrown no penalties in the play of the game and the actual runtime of the game, and you're going to call that on what was that, a 3rd down, to give them an automatic first down in the 10-yard line? That's the biggest freaking call you can give someone. You handed them the game.
You handed them the game. That's why Super Bowl champs 2 years in a row.
I'm gonna say this. As somebody who obviously I had a little bit of a rooting interest in the Rams, but I also like the Bengals, and so I wasn't really truly either way. I can see if I was a Bengals fan, I'd be losing my mind. Like, how in the world you give them that? On the flip side, that hold it was pretty weak. I'm not gonna say it wasn't. But that other penalty, where it was an offsetting penalty, I mean, that was 100% deserved.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the pass interference on the next play, like at the line. And if you look, yeah, I get why that was called. There was a hold, there was a grab, and it was there. So did they call it all game? No. Somebody asked Tony Dungy if the Bengals legitimately had a gripe about it, because he was talking about how poorly this game was officiated. And he said no. Because the first there we go. My whole screen locked up for a second. The whole game were missed calls everywhere because they weren't calling anything. The left tackles, especially the Rams, were jumping early. No calls. There were guys that were doing things, grabbing each other. We talked about the face mask. There were penalties that just were not called. So to sit there and go, oh, this was handed over by the refs because they called a couple penalties late, I don't fully agree with, but it certainly gave them life. But I think the biggest blunder, and why I will sit there and say the Rams was not gifted the game, but the Bengals lost it, is because of what happened next. So the Rams, of course, they hit Odell. They hit Cooper Kupp in the back of the end zone, giving him 2 touchdowns on the day. And then the Bengals get the ball back with a minute 30, minute 20 left. And they hit the first play. Jalen Ramsey kind of falls for a little double move there and ends up allowing T. Higgins to get about 25, 27 yards. Actually, it was 17, I believe. And the Bengals have a little bit of life. And then they have the most crucial play of their season. 3rd and 1. They have Joe Mixon, who has had 15 carries for 76 yards, a 4.6 yard per carry average. They have a line that, while not great, has been doing okay. And the Rams, as good as they are defensively up front, have a tendency to be able to get run on. And instead of giving the ball to the back that you spent a first or, I believe, a second round pick on drafting, you gave it to Perrine, who had 65 carries on the year. And he gets tackled by none other than Aaron Donald. And what a play Aaron Donald makes. He stops the Bengals. And then on 4th down, now if you look at the image, it looks real bad. Aaron Donald might have been offsides, but he breaks through the guard and he spins Joe Burrow around. And Joe Burrow, unable to see that Jamar Chase had beaten Jalen Ramsey, who had slipped on the grass, he fires the ball to the fullback, and it falls incomplete. And the Rams are your Super Bowl champions. They are the only team to ever win the national championship game in their home stadium, and then also win the Super Bowl in their home stadium, obliterating the Tampa Bay record that was last year. Sick, your thoughts on how that went down?
I still think, I completely agree. Going back to the missed calls, they did not call anything all game. And then all of a sudden, you made the biggest call you could potentially make. I agree 100% on the consecutive flags after that. Those were all warranted. Those were all legit fouls. But that one, after calling nothing all game, I cannot say that they did not change the course of this game.
They certainly impacted the game.
Yeah.
They changed it to the point where the Bengals no longer had to prevent a play. They had to make a play. But they were given the opportunity. That's my point with that. Also,
I'd like to see it. Basically, they went from like the 15-20 yard line all the way down to the 1 yard line doing nothing. It was all given to them by the refs. And then they had 4 plays, because they're not kicking a field goal. They're down 4 points. They have 4 plays to get in from the 1 yard line. I don't know. I guess my point is I'd like to see a sporting competition and have them legitimately, have to make those plays rather than just being handed it. But aside from that point, I do agree the last drive from the Bengals was pretty horrendous. They couldn't do anything in the second half. Again, if you look at the points they scored in the second half were the first play and then the drive after the interception. The first 2 drives they had, which were the first 2 minutes of the half. Everything else, they couldn't get anything going. They couldn't even kill the clock. Nothing. So to say that, yeah, like you said, are there other things we can point to? Sure. I don't think the Bengals played a game that's worthy of winning a Super Bowl. But I also hate the fact that when you look at it, it's like, well, I don't know. There's that little asterisk, like we always say, of what would have happened. They would have had 4th down on the 15-yard line, and I don't know. Who knows what that would have looked like.
I definitely cannot agree with that statement. I mean, I don't want to say it is what it is, but that is what happened. And again, if I was a Bengals fan, I would be losing my mind.
Yeah.
G-Man, you look like you're ready to say something.
Yeah, yeah. Sig nailed it on the head, except for it just you don't call anything all game, and then that last moment you start calling a bunch of stuff, and then you don't call the offside. You basically handed them the win. You handed the Rams the win.
Again, 3rd and 1, and you gave it to your backup running back. That's a
Yeah.
huge mistake.
And offsides, wouldn't that have gave them a first down?
It would have. I'm not disagreeing that was it shouldn't have or couldn't or wouldn't have been
So
called.
had they have gotten that first down, you don't know what could have happened.
I will say this too. So reading on Twitter there, some of the NFL players were talked about it, and they said a lot of times that if you line up offsides a little bit like that, you typically are given a warning before they actually call it. I'm not saying they even said that that should have been called. He was a little further offsides than just barely, but typically that is how that plays out. So it may not have been as horrible as it actually looked.
How many times did that happen all game? I mean, when they're just letting them play, like how do you know he wasn't offsides more than once and already got that warning, but they're just letting it slide because they're letting him play?
I'm not.
You
I'm not
don't
going to sit
know.
there and discuss that part. I don't know. I didn't watch the didn't rewatch the game and follow closely where Aaron Donald lined
It
up.
was just an eyebrow raising amount of flags is all I'm gonna say. To eyebrow raising amount of flags to almost none when it mattered, right? Like face mask, like letting a face mask go, but a holding call.
Which you could argue that face mask gave the Bengals 7, and those penalties at the end gave the Rams 7. So
Hey, either way, you're letting them play. So why not just do what you were doing the entire game and let them play? Why now do you have to throw 4 flags with a minute 40 left?
I can't. Nobody can explain it, other than it could have been that it got down to that point and the ref saw something that they thought severely impacted that particular play. Because keep in mind, the touchdowns that were scored they weren't right up against the goal line. And so when you start getting in that closer range, there's more bodies. And if they saw something that looked like a really bad hold, it is not a more consequential play, but there's more severe repercussions because there's more bodies that are close together. So that could have been the mindset. I don't agree with it. I wish that the refs would have not been the storyline, but they are. You can't talk about the Super Bowl without talking about officiating. But then again, I'm pretty sure if you go back and watch every Super Bowl, there are some big calls that are missed.
You can't talk about this season without talking about the refs. So for the refs to actually let them play, that was a miracle in of itself. Like they haven't done that for most of the games this season.
The Raiders would also like to point out that the officials may have given the Bengals a touchdown that allowed them to move on. So it could have been that they just ran out of the officials' luck at the very end of the game. I don't.
Look, if the Eagles get to Deshaun Watson, this is my new team. Okay, that's the real winners.
So let's move on here. So here you are at the end of the game. The two biggest plays made at the very end are made by Aaron Donald. And I kind of looked at that game and said, well, man, who is the Super Bowl MVP? And to me, I was kind of leaning Aaron Donald. But there's a weird rule that the vote has to come in at the 2-minute warning. And Cooper Kupp gets the MVP nod. Sick, your thoughts?
I don't know who else. Those two, I feel like, are the only two you could even. Maybe Stafford, but I don't even think Stafford had a great game. Yeah, he threw 3 touchdowns, I believe, on the day. He wasn't bad. I just don't think he was MVP worthy through that performance. Um, Cooper Cup, I don't know. He's like the default pick. I would have liked to have seen a defender, someone a little different, and I do think that throughout the game, and I can't remember the guy's name, but there was a number 94 that was stopping the run every single time. I think it was on the Bengals. And the commentators kept saying, "Man, if that guy's in the game, just don't even run it. Just go a different route." So it's like things like that. You'd like to see them getting a little bit of recognition from that. So yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see someone besides the guys scoring the touchdowns, the guys, on the offense. Same discussion we had when the league MVP was being voted, right? Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see something a little different. The guy that wins the Triple Crown and wins Offensive Player of the Year. Oh, look, he's MVP of the Super Bowl. Yeah, who would have thought, right?
Agree. I mean, I will say this: if you were to change Stafford's name and number and put on, I don't know, say number 12 and change his name to Brady, he would have been the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
He had the almost identical stats as Brady did last year, except the difference was that instead of Leonard Fournette having 100 yards and a touchdown, uh, it was Cooper Cup, and Gronk had a decent game. And so they were like, oh, we'll just give it to the guy who made no good plays. I was kind of refreshing that it wasn't a quarterback. So I was
Mm-hmm.
glad it wasn't Stafford. But I would have liked Aaron Donald. G-Man, you look again like you have something to say. Go ahead, spit it out, talk.
See, I agree with you. I think Aaron Darnold should have got it. I have to throw out a stat real quick, though. Okay, regards defense. But Joe Burrow was sacked 7 times in this game. He's sacked a total of 15 times this offseason, which is an all-time record in the NFL.
Do you mean 25?
15 offseason. Is it?
25. Just
Okay, 25. He holds the record for the most sacks in the offseason. Regardless, I think that what stat was before the Super Bowl, but regardless, 70 times in the postseason, third most ever. You don't win games like that, but I guess you do. I guess you do, because I guess you were in the Super Bowl, but you gotta fix your defense. Come on.
Yeah, that offensive line needs some help. I want to. The only reason why I mentioned that I knew that it wasn't 15 was he was sacked 9 times in the Tennessee game and sacked
Mm.
7 in the Super Bowl. That's 16. So
Yeah.
I believe it was 25.
Yeah, I pulled this from the interwebs, and
They
this
lied to
must have
you.
been, yeah. But
So, well, we should have been able to tell who the winner was because the team that has lost the coin toss the last 8 Super Bowls have all gone on to win the Super Bowl. So, guys, if you listen, if you guys are thinking about making a life-changing decision, flip a coin, call it in the air, and if it's the opposite, congratulations, follow through. If it's the right one, I don't know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Do the opposite of what the coin toss does. And the Rams are the first team in NFL history to win 3 straight playoff games by 3 points. So, congratulations, Rams. A lot of good stuff that happened. Fun season, all in all. And I kind of want to transition real quick. I want to give us some credit here on the Fumbling Gurus. And we talked about, we kind of all broke down the year that we thought we were going to have. And Sick, I want to give you a round of applause. You absolutely nailed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers record. You predicted them to go 13-4. So give yourself a pat on the back there.
I appreciate it. No doubt in my mind. I just wish we went further in the playoffs.
I was going to say the one bugaboo was you had them in the Super Bowl. So, but congratulations on that. You were pretty good picking your teams. You had the Buffalo winning the East, Kansas City winning the West, Dallas the NFC East, Bucks, Green Bay NFC North. The only three you got wrong, you had the NFC West going to Seattle. Seattle had the first losing record and finished last.
Pretty big bust there for sure.
You had the Colts winning the South for the AFC. And of course, the Titans went on to run through that division with Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't have the Bengals, which I don't even know if Bengals fans had the Bengals winning their division.
Disappointed in Baltimore. I thought for sure they had the weapons this year, but didn't pan out.
Lots of injuries. So then we're going to flip over to G-Man. I want to give him a massive round of applause. He had picked 7 of the 8 division winners correctly. Unfortunately, his Super Bowl prediction was Kansas City over Green Bay, so that didn't last. But he had Tennessee, Buffalo, Kansas City, Green Bay, Tampa, Dallas, and the Rams all right. And the only one he got wrong was AFC North. He chose Cleveland.
Who chooses the Bengals at that
Not
moment?
even Bengals fans.
No.
You, sir, had predicted the Eagles 11-6. They faltered. They fell short. They went 9-8, but they made the postseason to get crushed by the Bucs. Your thoughts overall of the Eagles season?
Hey, it was a rebuild year. I didn't even expect them to go 11-6, but a winning season is good in my book, and we've even made the playoffs. That's more than I expected the entire season. So, when you start off half a season without running the ball, you don't really, your hopes are just non-existent. Just like, the playoff chances or the playoff, yeah.
And so real quick here, just to Wiz, you guys know here we on the podcast every week we did our pick'ems every week. We did a lock of the week, an upset of the week, and your favorite team pick of the week on spread. G-Man, he went 26-27 on the year. Pretty good. Sick. He faltered a little bit. The Buccaneers gave him a lot of trouble. He ended 24-28.
Pretty
close.
Comparative, yeah.
Not bad. And then I want to get to me here. I was the worst on the divisions. I had Cleveland, which is wrong. I had the Colts, which were wrong. I had Washington winning the East. I was wrong. And I also had Seattle winning the West. I was wrong. My Super Bowl prediction was wrong. The Dolphins record, I predicted 11-6. Their coach ended up getting fired, and they ended up 9-8, and the coach is suing the NFL. So lots of fun things going on with the Dolphins. But I was near perfect on the postseason picks. I was the only one to pick the Rams in the Super Bowl. I predicted the Rams would win by 3, all of which came true, and I went 26-26, the best record in the regular season.
Objection. You had 2 weeks where the Dolphins didn't even, well, they played, but you didn't have to pick them. So did you, Sick. I had only 1. So, 27.
I'm looking at win percentages, and I'm 500. You're below 500. That's just the way it goes.
That's mean, dude. You knew this before we even started. You knew this before we even started. You're like, haha, G-Man, haha, he has to pick an extra game. Not fair, man. Not fair.
It's you know what else isn't fair? Sometimes the officials don't call the plays your way, and you end up losing a Super Bowl. Life's rough, man. Life's rough.
When Miami gets in the Super Bowl and you're crying, and I could just say the same thing.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. If the Dolphins make it to the Super Bowl and they lose, I will be using one of my sick days that I've accrued over this podcast because I will not be on the podcast.
That's BS. I think that if your team makes the Super Bowl, you are obligated to be here and talk about your team after the Super Bowl, regardless of win or loss. That's not fair, sir. That it's in the contract, man. Did you remember signing that, right, Sick?
Yeah, we had a DocuSign and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you guys can see and hear, that they're very unhappy with the fact that I had the best record in the regular season and playoffs. Um, so that kind of concludes this year. Sick. I'm gonna give you an opportunity. Do you have anything you would like to say about how our season predictions and all that stuff went?
I just like to say I'm disappointed that I couldn't surpass you because I was looking forward to buying you that Brady shirt to wear for the next for the opening draft podcast. I'll get you next year. We'll have to all agree to a kind of loser circumstances maybe for next year as we build it
Oh,
out a little more.
loser shaves their beard.
We could get there, man.
Oh no.
Practically shaved already. It doesn't even
Yeah,
matter for you.
expect me to not pick from the heart if that's gonna be the case next year.
G-Man, kind of your thoughts on how the summary of it all, that kind of stuff.
Look, Eagles made the playoffs, and Miami did not. So that's all I've got to say. Even though we lost to the better team, Tom Brady and the Bucks, in spectacular fashion by the Bucks, mind you, we were still there, and your team wasn't. So I'll take pride in that.
So
Carry it over to
next year, guys. So this is the conclusion of the season 1 of the Fumbling Gurus podcast. We're going to be taking a break. Please, if you want to know exactly when we're going to go live, make sure that you have us followed and have the notifications on Twitch, and subscribe to us on YouTube. So that way you guys are getting the latest podcasting material. We will be back for the NFL draft. We will be back for the free agency period, which is in March. So you will hear us throughout big stories. I want to thank you guys all for hanging out with us this year. It's been cool. It's kind of been a lot of fun. You got to get to grow with us as we've grown with you guys, and hopefully you've enjoyed the content that we produced this year, and we're going to continue to improve as the years go on and we continue to do this. G-Man, Sick, any thoughts on that before we wrap up with our final thoughts?
I'm looking forward to a really good off season with a lot of fun pickups and drafts. It's gonna be great. Can't wait.
And Sick, there, any thoughts?
No, I'm excited for next year. Looking to help build it out a little better for everyone and maybe revamp how we do some of our content here. So, no, I've enjoyed spending time with you guys throughout this season, spending time with people that join us every week, and looking forward to next season as well.
Yeah, you guys said it great there. I'm gonna kick it over, G-Man. I'm gonna wrap up the show here. I think it's a great wrap up point. Do you have your final thought?
Do I have a final thought?
Yes, sir. That's what I asked.
Well, didn't I just give you my final thought?
I mean, that was kind of the thanks. That was kind of,
Oh,
if you had like a final thought, a final tidbit, whatever you
got
wanna,
it. Okay.
you know how we like to end things here.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the coming together. One big triangle of sports. And I am the noob of the two or of the three of us. So, I appreciate you sharing your knowledge with me about certain things in the NFL. So, yeah. Awesome.
All right, and Sick, your final thoughts of this podcast and end of season 1.
I figured out my only final thought is I figured out what the losing aspect is going to be next year. I get to make
I know.
wings for whoever loses.
That really doesn't seem fair.
See, how you gonna get them to Oregon though? How are you gonna
I'll
do
find a
that?
way. We'll find a way to
Find
get
a
them.
way. Find a way. All right. You can listen. I'm sure that I'll eat the wings. You can watch me eat your wings, and it'll be all good. until I missed the Super Bowl because of them. But
And the way I want to end it with you guys is remember, if you forget your water in the car before you eat all the food, go make the quick run because you do not want to make that run on a full stomach. Thank you everybody for hanging out. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Fumbling Gurus. We will see you guys come March on season 2 of the podcast. Bye everybody.
Bye, guys.
I